Hey, my name is Hezekiah Agbo. I am a student and also a board member of CCJA. I've been involved now for almost 2 years, and it's been a fantastic experience. So pardon me to get a little philosophical. Let's start with jazz as an art form, which I think could only be born in America. And like if you watch interviews with the founding fathers like Max Roach and Art Blakey and those cats, they talk about how America is the melting pot of different cultures around the world, and how like jazz is like sort of that sort of amalgamation of like different cultures living in America. And so as an American art form, it is important to sort of keep it alive. And over the past, say, 2 decades, 3 decades, jazz has sort of like I don't want to say die, but like especially like programs for kids in high school, that's just not sort of a way for kids to get into jazz, or adults, or any sort of a newbie. So this kind of great American art form is being exported abroad, while there's no like promotion in the U.S. And I think that's where CCJA comes in and fills that super important gap of like getting kids and getting adults and getting whoever is interested into this great American art form. And someone like me, for example, I grew up in Nigeria. We didn't really have like a jazz scene, and coming out here, CCJ was like just like a no-brainer for me as someone who like was really getting into jazz. And that's why I think a lot of the pillars of the Denver jazz community have also gone through CCJA. And so I think it's important. It's just such an important organization. I think honestly, it was my first session, and Paul came in and sat in, and I was like super nervous because you've got this like great drummer just sitting and watching you, and he was so loving and encouraging, and giving me tips on how to be musical. And that was like super, as someone who was like new at the time, it made me like feel like welcome and feel like, hey, maybe I'm not so bad at the drums after all. If Paul was like, you're not too bad. My favorite director has got to be Domi. Obviously, selfishly, she's great. She's also very patient and very welcoming, and she listens a lot. And I think that's an important quality for any director, any jazz musician, really. And she really listens, and she gives like super helpful feedback. And she's super organized, and she's super smart, and you can tell. And kind of being in her ensembles over the past few sessions now has been like super helpful for my growth as a musician. So Domi, obviously. It's just sort of as polishing the mirror of sort of getting to know myself. CCJ has played, like, especially myself as a jazz musician, finding sort of weaknesses in my playing, which is just as important as finding like the strengths that I have. CCJ has like really played a role in sort of spotlighting all of those things, and really kind of helped my progress as a musician. Paul, obviously, Harold, Eric Harland, which is like one of the drummers on, if you look at the back of your little CCJA folder, they have like a lot of drummers you should check out, and like Eric Harland is on there, and I look up to him a lot. Kendrick Scott, all those guys. Well, tying this back to my initial response, I think jazz is one of the greatest achievements of the 20th century, and one of the greatest achievements of America and this great American experiment. And I think CCJA is playing a role in continuing that legacy, that super important legacy. And jazz helps you find who you are, and I think a lot of kids these days, especially, and adults, have trouble finding who they are, especially with the digital age and TikTok and Instagram. And jazz is the art form requires you to be present in the moment, and I think a lot of kids have lost that, and CCJ is helping to sort of bring people back into the present moment, into now, and keeping the great American art form alive, especially in Denver. So CCJ is like playing an incredibly important role, not just in Denver, but in America, I think. We are CCJA.